What's up, you guys? Welcome back into iHeartRadio's official wrestling podcast, the Battleground Podcast. And man, tomorrow night is going to be one hell of a night. You've got AEW Dynamite Grand Slam up there in New York. And here's the deal. We have seen this for weeks. And our guest today, Nigel McGuinness. Let's go ahead and introduce Nigel. Woo! Nigel, sir, how are you?
Very well, thank you very much. Just enjoying this California sun.
Ooh, that must be nice. We've got some pretty gnarly sun here, but it's not the California temperature. We got miserable 92 degrees here. So
muggy Tennessee. Yeah.
I hope you're enjoying it. But we kind of talked about this for briefly before we started recording it. You've cut some great promos here recently. This past Wednesday, you called out Bryan Danielson. Of course, no show. You said, hey, if you really want to put the test to test, who is the real GOAT? Meet me here Wednesday Night Dynamite. So let me just go ahead and ask the obvious question, get it out of the way. When did you know another match between you and Danielson was 100% a possibility and not just fantasy booking by fans?
Yeah, it was a gradual thing, certainly. The story goes, I was on Tony Khan's plane flying from Los Angeles to the East Coast. I forget exactly where it was. And on the flight, he told me about Wembley Stadium. They were going to do that. And I don't know why, I sort of said to him, sort of tongue in cheek, well, you know, if we sell out, I might have to dust off the old boots. And that that sparked something in him, you know. And he asked me, did you do that legitimately? And I explained, yeah. I mean, you know, the only thing stopping me wrestling is me, really, to be honest with you. And so that was a possibility then, but it didn't work out for that year because Bryan broke his arm in that match with Okada. Although, as I've said before, 206 bones in the human body, 205 were perfectly okay, yet somehow that was an excuse not to wrestle me. So fast forward another year, another opportunity, and, you know, with Bryan winning the Owen Hart Foundation tournament, he had that title opportunity. And so the only option left open to me was to take part in that casino gauntlet match to try and earn an opportunity if Bryan was to win that night. And as you saw, I shot my shot, took my opportunity, and it didn't pay off, you know, but it couldn't have been won by a better man, you know. What was that line, Buddy Rogers line? To a better man, it couldn't have happened.
Yeah, for sure.
I was I actually went to the Memphis Wrestling Hall of Fame this weekend, and kind of feeling nostalgic. What were some of the, you know, outside of your bubble wrestling that you gravitated to? Were you a big Japanese fan? Did you get into any of the Memphis wrestling from back in the day?
As a fan, or once I was in the job?
As a fan, sorry.
Yeah, as a fan, I mean, God, that was, you know, tracked back to the 90s, and there wasn't a lot of access back then. Tape trading wasn't really a thing in England in the 90s, at least not that I was aware of. So it wasn't until I was in the job that I even realized the majority of professional wrestling outside of what was WWF at the time even really existed, you know. And I think that's always been a battle for anyone who's tried to compete against them. Obviously, I got Pro Wrestling Illustrated, so I was aware of the other things, but you just saw the pictures. You never actually saw any of the videos or anything like that. So it wasn't until I got in the job that I really started diversifying my interest and my fandom, if you will.
So I guess it was probably WWE and then World of Sports. Was that the kind of the
Well, World of Sport was on TV until 88, I believe, give or take. And so that was the first professional wrestling I ever saw. And if you've ever seen any of that, a very different style than what was WWF was producing at the time. And it was funny, actually, because they would, towards the end of their run, they would split. 1 week would be World of Sport and 1 week would be a tape that WWF would send in. And the difference was dramatic, you know. So that was really, what really got me into it. First of all, was seeing guys like Fit Finlay. But then when it disappeared from TV, to all intents and purposes, I didn't really know that it still existed at all until I got Sky TV and then started to be able to see the WWF product and got into it then, you know. Yeah. How was the museum, though? Was it pretty cool? What was the cool stuff there?
It was good. So they don't have a proper museum. They just had some ceremonies, but like Rock and Roll Express went in this year. My cousin My cousin is Nightmare Danny Davis. He went in. He's kind of more known now for his training. He trained Cody and Brock and John Cena
Yeah,
and all those.
of course. Yeah.
A bunch. Yeah. Downtown Bruno. He
Oh,
was
nice.
wherever he was in WWE. I can't remember his name there, but yeah, there's a bunch of legends there. A bunch of
Harvey
people,
Whippleman.
Dave Brown, the announcer. That's him, Whippleman. Yes. So, and The Rock just bought him a truck. I just found out. That's crazy. That was wild.
There we go.
But it was
Nice.
good. Yeah, it was good. Yeah. So, anyways, back to your match. What has been the biggest challenge or challenges of getting ring ready again?
There's been a few. It's kind of interesting because pro wrestling exists in this strange sort of misty limbo between sports and entertainment. And I better not use that phrase. The truth of the matter is you have to be aesthetically pleasing as well as athletically good as well. And that being the case, it's a different form of, because people often see wrestlers show up on TV and go, what the easy job, you work for half an hour a week. But that's the fun part of it. What you don't see is having to go in the gym, having to eat right, having to work with injuries, etc. Travel 100%. So the biggest part of it for me, I think, is the diet of it. I've been on the Viggy diet, which is a good friend of mine I've known a long time in the job, Dan Viggity. He's got me on a great diet that, where you can bulk up and then lean out for the actual show. So I've been doing that. Takes a lot of time. And then in the gym 3 days a week, and then swimming, and then stretching, and then yoga, and then actually in a ring a couple of times a week as well, give or take whatever's available, given travel. So it's been hectic. It has been hectic. And part of me, coming back to wrestling was like, this is a full-time commitment outside of even doing the commentary, but it's worth it because ever since I started with Les Thatcher in HWA, it was instilled in me to treat this job as a professional. You got to have respect for it, respect for the way you look, respect for the way that you act, and respect for what you do in the ring as well. So I've always tried to uphold that.
Yeah, absolutely. And of course, we're going to have a fun night tomorrow night, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. Now, the talk has been this whole dream match of you and Bryan Danielson. When people thought about this, for many people, they thought that this match we would never see again. We thought that it was done back in the day with the ROHs and whatnot.
Yeah.
What are you looking forward to the most in this match, other than the obvious of kicking Bryan Danielson's ass?
Danielson, yeah.
Right. I just think the experience of being in front of those people again, it's something that I arguably took for granted when I was a wrestler. I suppose I still am a wrestler to that extent. But, when I walked out at Wembley Stadium and got that reaction, it was just incredible and, so heartwarming to be remembered that way and respected that way. So, I know it's not going to be the same reaction, and there's going to be plenty of people in New York that don't like me. But I've always said when people ask me about getting in the job, what do you need? You just need people to care about you, and it was always the case with me. People either loved me or hated me, but as long as they had an opinion, that was all that mattered. And I think there's going to be a lot of that. Hopefully, there's going to be a lot of those people who've followed our careers since Ring of Honor who are going to come out and really want to see who can prove that today they are the better wrestler. And that's all I'm trying to do. I'm just trying to show that all the success that he's had should have, could have, and would have been mine in a different universe,
Right. And it's also just really cool that this is also happening under the Ring of Honor banner too, in present day. That's just very cool from the history standpoint.
Yeah.
So sliding over a little bit, when did the magic bug hit you? And what do you consider the parallels between what you do in the magic world and in the pro wrestling world?
Yeah, a lot of parallels, actually. When I came out here to Los Angeles, good Lord, decade or so ago, I started going to the Magic Castle. And one of the preeminent mentalists in the magic world. It's a guy by the name of Max Maven, who unfortunately has passed away now. But he was always a big wrestling fan as well, read up on the job. And whenever we started hanging out, we always would talk about those similarities. The big covers the small is one thing. And the sense of how seeing it live is a very different experience than seeing it, through your TV or your computer, as the case may be now. So a lot of those similarities are there. Certainly. But the bug for me, I suppose it would have started mid-2000s. I was going out to Japan a lot, and the sponsors would take us out afterwards, and I didn't speak a lot of Japanese. And so we were there sometimes for 3 hours. Sometimes the food wasn't really what I wanted to eat. So I would use a deck of cards to pass the food that I didn't want to eat on to the next person, and to try to entertain our hosts and our sponsors who would pay good money to take care of us for the evening. So it started like that, and then became more of a backstage thing around the boys, just taking out a deck of cards, doing a few different things like that. And then, good Lord, it would have been January of 2023 where I finally made the decision to actually do a show. I've been let go from WWE, and we'd had the unfortunate passing of Jay Briscoe, which was a huge inspiration for me actually doing the show. Because people had asked for the longest time, when you do a show, and it's so different to do an actual magic show versus just doing a few little things here and there. And so I just, Jay's passing reminded me that you're not guaranteed tomorrow. And if this is something you want to do, now's the perfect time to do it. So I took 3 weeks and sat down and wrote out what I wanted to do. It's not just a magic show, it's a spoken word show as well. Try and meld those two things together, and started doing it sort of March, April of that year. We've done about 10, 15 shows now. I've done everywhere from England. We've done London, Manchester, Philadelphia. We've got 2 shows back to back, same night, coming up the night before Wrestle Dream. So the first one sold out in a day. So it's been fantastic, been a real fantastic experience, and I've considered myself very blessed to have been at that opportunity.
Yeah, absolutely. And that's awesome, because I remember this was when AEW was in Memphis. I think you had a show in Memphis afterwards. And me and Eli talked about driving down. I was like, we can go to wrestling, but we get 2 shows.
If we'd have known, if we had known you were doing that, we would have definitely made the road trip. But anyway, didn't know.
So I do want to ask this, because we all scroll through social media, and there's a guy on social media, or girl, with the Drain Maker account on Twitter. I'm still calling it Twitter. I won't call it X. And they said things that have happened since Mariah May kissed Nigel McGuinness in Wembley Stadium. And let's go over this thing. Nigel came out of retirement the same night. Nigel will eventually wrestle Bryan Danielson. And the third point, Oasis reunited, and Fucking in the Bushes will play at Arthur Ashe.
Woo!
Pretty incredible. We should send her over to Palestine and Israel. Maybe she could, create world peace, right?
Possibly. Man, so we kind of know your thoughts as we watch AEW when she's on TV and you're on commentary. What are your thoughts on AEW Women's World Champion Mariah May?
Gosh, she's fantastic. She speaks for herself, doesn't she? She's everything, She's the glamour. She's got the look, but she can back it up once the bell rings as well.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, 100%. She's the epitome of what is needed in a world champion, certainly. And she speaks well. She does the job. She's fantastic. I couldn't be any more proud of a fellow country woman. Is that the right term? I'm not sure what term I should use, but either way.
Right. So on the other side of the aisle is Danielson's theme, Final Countdown. And a lot of people are expecting that to be played tomorrow night. If you could sabotage his entrance music before the match tomorrow night, what would you do to kind of throw him off his game?
Yeah, maybe Love and Marriage. That'd be a good one if he came out to that, right?
Yeah. Hinting at that retirement,
there's one, when you go on Instagram and you post a video, you can add music to it, right? Mm-hmm. There was one, I just typed in coward and it brought one up, which was just perfect. But whatever it is, that's, if I could choose, that's the song I'd have him play on his way out, certainly.
Yeah.
But look, he is legitimately banged up, and say what you want about him. He just, his pride is bigger than his brain, which isn't saying a lot. But be that as it may, you got to think he's going to show up. I would certainly hope he's going to show up. I don't know what condition he's going to be in. His neck's been banged up for a longest time. And all storyline aside, he's been a big inspiration to me. When I started in AEW, he came up to me and he said, Nigel, it's great to have you here, but I hope you don't wrestle because I'm petrified of ever facing you again. And I said, don't worry, Bryan. If that was to ever happen, I'm sure you'll just fake an injury and get out of it somehow. So,
and fast forward, here we are. Yeah. Well, it's going to be a fun night for sure. Tomorrow night, AEW Dynamite Grand Slam. You can watch it starting at 7 Central. And before we let you go, I have been holding on to this for the end of the interview because this is a funny story. My 7-year-old has gotten really big into collecting wrestling figures. And so somehow he figured out how to buy stuff with my phone online. Well, he ordered a John Cena action figure. I opened the action figure up and it's this action figure and not the John Cena action figure.
Nice.
And so I think I was a little bit more excited to get this action figure than he was not getting his John Cena action figure. So I'm hoping that maybe tomorrow night we get the blonde frosted tips back.
As you can see, it looks highly unlikely at this juncture. No, this hair is far too precious to me at this point in my life to risk.
Oh yeah.
Blonde in the tips like that. But how disappointed must your kid have been, eh?
He was like, I don't know who this is. And I was like, I do. It's mine now. I don't care that you just spent $30 on an action figure. This is going in my collection.
He will know who it is come Wednesday night. He's going to know exactly who it is. And he will be able to see me. I can promise you that.
Well, Nigel, I would like to end it right there, but before we let you go, we always got to send everybody off. Is there anything you want to say to people watching or listening to this right now?
Other than just, tune in because I can promise you this is going to be a monumental match, a monumental night. For me, it's destiny that's come about now after 16 years. To your earlier point, never would have dreamt this would happen. And if Bryan's got the balls to show up, then I guarantee you it's going to be a match for the ages. You don't often get an opportunity like this in sports, because of the nature of sports. But to me, this would be perhaps like a Michael Jordan against a Kobe Bryant, the ability to see where they are now. And that's what you're going to get. Bryan's back's against the wall. That's oftentimes where he's at his best. But I promise you, I'm going to do absolutely everything to just prove my point. Title's not on the line. So, whether win, lose or draw, he's leaving Arthur Ashe with the belt and he's heading to Wrestle Dream to defend it. But if I can beat him and I can prove that I was every bit the wrestler that he is, or he was, and that's going to be in the back of his mind for the rest of his life, and he deserves it.